All right, let's dive into A.R. Barton's short story Going Places. It's all about this teenage girl with dreams that are just way bigger than the world she lives in. We're talking about that classic painful clash between what you want and what you've got. So let's unpack it.
So right off the bat, we meet our main character, Sophie. And she doesn't waste any time. She says, when I leave, I'm gonna have a boutique. Just like that, you can tell right away, this isn't just some casual daydream. No, she's planning it. This one line, this one dream, is basically the engine for the whole story.
And boom, here it is, the central conflict of the story, laid out for us. You've got this huge gap, this chasm really, between what's in Sophie's head and what's right in front of her. On one hand, she's picturing herself owning a boutique, maybe being an actress or even a fashion designer. But her reality? Well, that's a one-way ticket to the biscuit factory. That and a pretty grimy, cluttered house. You can see why she feels the need to escape, right? This contrast is everything.
So you gotta wonder, how does everyone else in her life feel about these huge ambitions? Well, that's where we get into one of the big themes of the story, this constant battle between Sophie's incredible imagination and, well, the very down-to-earth, practical people she's surrounded by.
And first up, we have her friend, Jancy. Think of Jancy as the voice of reason, or maybe the dream crusher, depending on how you look at it. Whenever Sophie comes up with some amazing new plan, Jancy's right there with a reality check. Takes money, Soph, she says. You know, she's not trying to be mean, it's just she's already accepted their lot in life, a fate that Sophie just refuses to even think about.
I mean, look at this contrast. It's night and day. Sophie is the dreamer, 100%. She believes anything can happen. And then there's Jancy, the realist, who's pretty much already punched her time card for the biscuit factory. One person lives in her fantasies and the other pokes holes in them. Their whole friendship really boils down to the two choices they seem to have. You either escape into your dreams or you accept your reality.
Okay, so this tension isn't just with her friends. It's right there at home, too. And to really get why Sophie needs these fantasies so badly, you have to see the place she's so desperate to get away from.
And man, the story does not pull any punches here. The picture it paints is bleak. We're talking a small, steamy room filled with clutter. Her mom is just worn out, bent over the sink. There's a pile of dirty laundry in the corner. Her dad comes home covered in grime and sweat. I mean, the air is so thick with it all that Sophie literally feels a tightening in her throat. You can just feel it, right? This is not exactly fertile ground for big dreams.
And the emotional vibe? Just as grim. Forget about a lack of support. When Sophie even mentions one of her ideas, her dad's reaction is just pure scorn. He doesn't just doubt her, he calls them wild stories. Basically, he thinks she's just making stuff up, being a silly kid.
And it's a total family affair, this cynicism. Even her little brother Derek gets in on it, mocking her. She thinks money grows on trees, don't she? It just goes to show how deep this almost defeatist attitude runs in the family. It's no wonder Sophie feels like she's on an island, all alone with her dreams.
So, with zero backup from her friends or her family, what does Sophie do? She doubles down. She takes her fantasizing to a whole new level. This is where she stops just dreaming and starts building something much more concrete. A lie. A really, really good one.
And who does she tell this big story to? Her older brother, Joff. Now, Joff's a quiet guy, works as a mechanic's apprentice, but in Sophie's eyes, he's the key to everything. He represents freedom, a life outside their small world, a connection to that vast world out there. He's her only hope, the one person she thinks might just get it, or at least hear her out.
And so she drops the bomb. 4 little words. I met Danny Casey. Now you have to understand, Danny Casey isn't just anybody. He's this young phenom football player from Ireland, a total star. By saying she met him, Sophie is literally trying to grab a piece of that celebrity, that glamour, and pull it right into her own life.
And she's smart about it. She doesn't just say it and leave it there. Oh no, she builds this lie piece by piece to make it sound real. Step 1, the location, a chance meeting in an arcade. Totally plausible. Step 2, add a personal detail. She describes his eyes, calls them gentle, nice touch. And then, the absolute masterstroke. She claims he asked her out for next week. See what she did there? She gave the lie a future. It's not over, it's an ongoing story.
But here's the kicker. Even Jeff, the one person she thought might believe her, is skeptical. Super skeptical. You get the feeling he wants to believe it, but he just can't. He says it's the unlikeliest thing he's ever heard. And that right there, that raises the stakes. Now it's not just a story. Sophie feels like she has to prove it. And this is it. This is where it all comes to a head, the climax of the story. It's the moment where Sophie's beautiful, carefully crafted fantasy has to go head-to-head with cold, hard reality.
So she goes to the spot, and it's exactly the kind of place a dreamer would choose. A quiet bench by the canal, the single elm tree standing over it. To her, it's the perfect place for a secret date with a celebrity. For this one moment, she is completely lost in her story. It's real to her.
But is he going to show? I mean, we know the answer, right? We know he's not coming. But for Sophie, sitting there on that bench, there's still a chance. And that's where the tension is. It's in watching that little flame of hope start to flicker and fade.
And as she waits and waits, reality starts to sink in. The story puts it perfectly. She feels the pangs of doubt stirring inside me. You can just feel that slow, awful dawning realization, can't you? That feeling in the pit of your stomach when you know the dream is over?
So, what happens now? What happens after the fantasy bubble bursts? This is where we get to the really powerful part of the story, what she does with that crushing disappointment.
And you have to understand, it's not just about being stood up on a date. The sadness she feels is this hard burden, because now she can never prove them wrong. She has to go home, look her brother in the eye, and basically admit it was all a lie. That fantasy was like her armor, and now it's just gone.
But here's the most fascinating part. Even after all that, she doesn't totally let it go. As she's walking home, she starts replaying the meeting in her head. She perfects it. She remembers his smile, the sound of his voice, the shimmer in his eyes. So even though reality kicked down her door, the fantasy itself, that becomes a kind of memory. It's her memory, and nobody can touch it.
Which leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? Were Sophie's fantasies just a harmful delusion, something that was always going to end in tears? Or were they a lifeline, a necessary escape hatch from a reality that gave her absolutely nothing to look forward to? That's really what Going Places asks us to think about. Thanks for tuning in.